Hello students from Văn Lang University. I am Miss Phương Thảo, an English lecturer of Language Institute. And now, today, we will study Unit 5, Risk and Reward, in Pathways Foundation Listening and Speaking course book. In Section B, we will focus on grammar. Today, I will introduce to you simple past. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to know how to apply the past form of regular and irregular verbs. Know how to use verb in the affirmative, negative, and interrogative forms in the simple past tense, and express an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. Are you excited? Let's start the lesson now. So, please read the sentences on the slide, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and tell me what is the difference between the two sentences. Alright, so as you can see on the slide, sentence 1A asks about the action that you often or usually do, and sentence 1B talk about something you often do. So sentence 1B talks about your habits. And we call the sentences 1A and 1B simple present. How about the sentences 2A and 2B? Sentences 2A ask about the action happening in the past. And sentence 2B express an action also happening at a specific time in the past. So we call sentence 2A and 2B simple past. So that's the difference. Alright, so let's move on to the use of simple past. We use the simple past first to express an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. For example, last year I traveled to Japan. So you can see the action of traveling to Japan started and finished last year. The second use of simple past is to list a series of completed actions in the past. For example, he added flour, poured in the milk, and then added the eggs. First, he added the flour. Second, he poured in the milk, and then added the eggs. So this is a series of completed actions. So another use of simple past is to describe a habit which stopped in the past. For example, I studied French when I was a child. That means when I was a child, I studied French. However, I am grown up now and I don't study French anymore. The action of studying French stopped in the past. Another use of simple past is to describe past facts or generalizations which are no longer true. For example, she was shy as a child, but now she is very outgoing. So the fact that she was shy is already in the past. because she is grown up now and she becomes more outgoing. We have learned the 4 uses of simple past. And now we will move on to the time expressions. So here are some time expressions that make you recognize simple past. Yesterday, 2 days ago, or 3 weeks ago, last year, or last month, or last week, in last year in the past. So now, let's explore how can we form an affirmative sentence in simple past with regular verbs and irregular verbs. First, please look at the regular verbs. So regular verbs are the verbs with ed form. To form an affirmative sentence with regular verbs in simple past, you will put the subject first and then goes the verb. And with the verb, you use the base form and then add ed at the end of the word. For example, we hiked up the mountain last Sunday. Team played football yesterday. So that is about regular verb structure. How about irregular verbs? For irregular verbs, you also put the subject at the beginning, and after the subject goes the verb. But in this case, you cannot add ed at the end of the verb. In this case, you will change the base form into the second form of past simple. For example, John fell and broke his arm. So fell and broke are the second form of past simple. Another example for irregular verb is the team won the game with the highest score. In this case, won is an irregular verb. You cannot add ed, but you change the verb there into the second form of past simple, won. How about the negative form? With the negative form, first, please look at the regular verbs. For the negative form, you will put the subject at the beginning as normally, and before the verb, you will put the auxiliary verb did with not or didn't. And after did not or didn't, we add base form of the verb. For example, we did not or we didn't hike up the mountain last Sunday. Tim did not or Tim didn't play football yesterday. How about irregular verbs? For irregular verbs, you can see that the structure is similar. First, we put the subject at the beginning of the sentence. Then, we put the auxiliary verb with not, did not or didn't. And after that, you put the base form of the verb. For example, John did not or John didn't go to work last Monday. My grandfather did not or my grandfather didn't do the gardening last week. So you can see that the regular verbs or the irregular verbs, they all have the same structure in negative form. All of them follow the structure of subject, did not or didn't, and then base form of the verb. Alright, we have learned the structure of affirmative form and negative form. Now let's practice with the first exercise. Complete the paragraph below with the correct form of the verbs. So, please read the paragraph carefully. And you can pause the video and then check the answer in the next slide. So here is the answer key for you to check. I hope that all of you are correct. So now, let's explore the structure of simple past in questions. First of all, please look at yes/no questions. For yes/no questions, you will put the auxiliary verb did at the beginning of the sentence. After that, you add the subject. And finally, you add the verb in base form. For example, did you camp on top of the mountain? You can answer by saying, yes, we did. Or, no, we didn't. Alright, another example with yes/no question. Did she see any animal? You can answer by saying, yes, she did. Or, no, she didn't. Didn't is the short form of did not. So now, let's check the structure of WH questions. In communication, we need to ask WH questions to require for more information from other people. And in this case, you will put the WH word at the beginning of the questions. For example, what? And then the rest of the structure in the sentence is similar to the yes/no question. For example, what did you do in last night? Alright, so in this case, you can see that after the WH word what, we keep the same structure as the yes/no question, auxiliary verb did, and then subject with you, and base form of verb with do. What did you do in last night? I finished my homework. Another example. Where did she go yesterday? We put the WH word where at the beginning of the question. After that, we keep the same structure as the yes/no question, auxiliary verb did, and then subject she, and then base form of the verb go. Where did she go yesterday? She went to the cinema. So now, here is an exercise for you to practice the question structure. Please write the complete questions with the present simple or present continuous. Please read the question from number 1 to number 4. Please pause the video for 3 minutes to do this activity and then check your answer in the next slide. Alright, everyone, here is the answer key for the exercise so that you can check. Now let's do something more challenging. Is it okay? Please look at the pictures and the stories from number 1 to number 6. Do you know these popular stories from number 1 to number 6? Alright, so let's practice simple past by answering these questions. Did you read stories when you were young? Which one was your favorite? You can pause the video for 3 minutes to do this activity, and then you can check possible answer in the next slide. Alright, to complete the answer for this exercise, I would love you to choose the word and to put in the right position to complete the story. So everyone, now let's check the answer. Alright, another challenge for you in exercise 3. Please look at the photos. Describe what people did when you can add time, expressions, or simple past in the end of the sentences. For example, you can look at the picture and you can say, the woman brought a basket of apples to my home last night. So now it's time for you to practice with those pictures. So here are possible answers for you to check. I hope that you have similar answers. That is also the end of our lesson today. Thank you so much for your attention and see you in the next lesson.